Don't say the Western land is somebody else's dream. Here in the suffering Saha world, things are not what they seem. And if you can learn to return the light and recite the Buddha's name a lot, then the seven pools with their seven jewels appear in the space of a thought. Amitabha Buddha in a former life was a bhikshu named Fadzam. He made 48 vows, and every vow he made was to take living beings along to the Western land where the living's grand and the people have no pain. And don't you know that you can go if you just keep reciting his name?
The founder of the Dharma Realm Buddhist Association, Venerable Master Shren Hua, created Instilling Goodness Elementary School and Developing Virtue Secondary School to provide an education based on moral principles.
He had a vision that was not about educating youth as such, but he had a vision of the world. And how do you make the world a better place? He said you make a world a better place by educating your young people. And so I think it was from that vision that you get a school that is different. It cares about character. Academically, they're very, very well, but that's not the primary purpose of the school, to teach them worldly knowledge.
The school started in San Francisco then, in the spring of 1976, with about 10 students, ages 4.5 to 11. At the beginnings, some of the instructions that I was given were to teach kids to be filial to their parents and to be good citizens.
The master told us how teaching is a really sacred task that is being neglected, that people who teach are actually building up the next generation. And that's why we need teachers who are really dedicated to education, not just to making a living.
Most of us in the school who taught in the school lived here and worked for a small amount of money, which I guess we now call a stipend. In the fall of 1978, we moved here to the city of 10,000 Buddhas.
Running a Buddhist school in a Buddhist monastery is very, very unique indeed. Typically, monasteries in Asia, in the first place, don't have families. But here at the city, we have probably 200 people with families on the grounds. That is so unusual, to have a male monastic community, a female nunnery monastic community, and then have family people. And then in that mix, you have schools.
Boring, dull.
Boring, yeah.
Stupid a little.
The school definitely is not for everybody.
It takes time to adjust. This environment is very different.
It's for students who want to come to an environment where they can personally grow and focus on academics, but much more focus on their character.
I wasn't doing good at other schools, and then at this school I was doing good.
And also they have to be able to adapt to the rules.
The rules are tough.
I saw the students bowing and wearing those uniforms, and I heard stories about the school and the rules, and I was like, no way I ever gonna end up here.
We have uniforms, but in general the clothing is very conservative and modest.
I think they're a little strict about the uniform. I mean, we can't wear jewelry or, we have to tuck in our shirts.
And there is very little opportunity to watch TV or any other kind of media.
I'm more of a musical person, so I kind of can't live without music.
You couldn't use your own computers, you couldn't use electronics. It was just you and nature, that's about it.
And the rules, some of them are because we are in a monastery, that we have boys and girls are separate.
It's an all-boys school.
My friends they don't want it to be segregated.
There was no time for you just to play around. So if you had time, you studied. Study, that's all it is.
I think we should have more phone privileges.
You have to do the ceremony every day.
The uniform.
The fact that we have to wake up at 5:45 to go to breakfast because it's way too early.
Living in close proximity with monastics, I know for some students that can be kind of scary, but for many, they just treat us as friends. When I wasn't a principal, it was just like, they will be very friendly and want to give you a hug. Even.
Oh, can nuns hug girls?
Well, not generally, but not technically, but sometimes when they need it.
There's peacock poop everywhere, so we always step on them. That's disgusting.
We're definitely more like frontier kind of feeling, like we're sort of primitive, and we're really happy for that.
The buildings that you will sometimes see are old, and they come from an institutional usage in the past that is not always conducive to educational purposes.
There's no playground, there's only a basketball court.
The girls are living in one big, how do you call it?
Room.
Whenever you wake up and there's already like a whole bunch of kids standing there. Oh, how are you doing this morning? And you're like, shut up,
Dharma masters and the Sangha here believe in true frugality, and that is they don't waste money on things such as heat.
We used to have to go and study in a whole separate room with like lines of desks, and it was just bitter cold. But now we get to sit like at our desk right by our bed, and everything's a lot more homey.
It's less rugged than before. That's definitely true. It's less rugged. I mean, they have a heater now in school. We used to have 4 fire stoves. Now with stoves, I have to start a fire every day.
I think it's good that everybody gets the chance to try to live a very hard lifestyle, and after this, everything should be really simple for them.
Of course, I went home every day and complained to my mom about everything, But now when I look back on it, I can't imagine myself going to any other school.
It's like a really strong school. Instead of like a whole bunch of people slack off all the time, the school has always been really strict. Everything about it builds you up, always playing sports, really rigorous. Even though this is such a small school, we end up having a team that could play with some really big schools and we could win. So I think it's really interesting that how many strengths we could come up with.
When I first came, I just had like no confidence in myself. I didn't care what I did. I just didn't work that hard when I was in public school. And then the teacher started pushing me more and more.
We were freshmen back then, and he uses this AP history textbook, and I barely spoke English. I just came from Taiwan.
You get a whole lot of sometimes it just breaks you down. A couple of times I just broke down and I was like, I want to go home. And I just call my mom all the time and ask her, I just want to go home. After a while, I knew they were just helping me. And there's a lot of teachers still on me because they just want students to do good.
Whenever I take some public school tests, it's so much easier than here. Sometimes it's too easy and I get confused.
The teachers here brought out your true potential, and they let you see for yourself how hard you can work. Here, after school, you need help, teachers are around. They give you their phone number. You can call them up and they'll come and help you. Just different.
I think the school has very much a feeling of family because of the smallness and because there are some combining of grades.
The girls and the boys are able to build like a sisterhood and a brotherhood that is really unique.
There's so few of us, we get really close and we talk a lot. Like we talk about like deep stuff, trifle stuff sometimes. So you kind of know people better.
Everybody knows each other. Everybody feels like a big family. There's no real pressure on you about how to perform or how to act or what to say. And it makes you a whole lot more patient and tolerant with other people.
It is definitely a way of life. It's not just a school where they expect you to attend from 8 o'clock till 3 o'clock. Our school was attend from 7:50 till 4, and if there was a practice or if there was extracurricular things or if there was extra homework that needed to be done, we'd spend our time there.
The students have a lot of opportunities for leadership. Most of the students, I think on average, they're in 3 to 5 clubs. Even the girls who are shy and quiet, they actually become the president of different clubs.
For example, I was a captain of the basketball team. I wouldn't even make like varsity in a public school for sure, But because the school is so small, everyone has to play.
And say there's no clubs on campus in the school at all, and so basically you can create any clubs you want, and you as students have so much power of shaping the school. This school is like part of you, or you're becoming part of it because you put so much effort into making it what it is.
My eldest son, Nakula, graduated from the school, and I feel like incredibly proud of him, as I do all my children, but he ended up going through UC Berkeley and being a very progressive person.
I hadn't previously gone to school for the first 11 years of my life as well, because my parents didn't want to send me to a public school. So I was fairly uneducated. I could barely read and write. I couldn't do any difficult multiplication or division. I spent most of my time on a motorcycle and riding a horse.
And he was basically at that point where he wanted to interact with kids. And so my first impression of the school was I saw a bunch of boys playing soccer with a monk, an Italian monk playing soccer with boys. And I thought, wow, this is incredible.
I was somehow accepted, as even though I wasn't up to par with other students my age, but the teachers put me in the classes with the other students, and they made it available for me to study with them. At the same time, they gave me work which I could go at my own pace with.
When you have teachers who are teaching solely because they want to teach, they bring a kind of energy to the school that's very special.
The environment was a constant learning experience. You were watching these incredible people with their vows and their practices doing what they were doing.
So for me that was very unique and very memorable, because I don't think there's very many other places in the world that you can be that close to people who are devoting their whole lives to inner exploration and developing their kindness.
The teachers, my mentors, are extremely interesting and fascinating people. They are people who devote themselves to spiritual practice. By their devotion, voluntarily renounce a lot of the material comfort.
They don't make a salary or anything. They just care about the students. They just care about teaching. We don't give up anything for them, yet they give up so much for us.
The volunteer program has brought teachers into the school who would, in other situations, never be teaching in a school.
I had said no several times to being principal because there were some grounds for that. Number one, I'm really not trained to be a principal. I'm trained to be a mathematician, a physicist.
It's really interesting because usually they've been so many places and they've lived in so many different countries, and they have all these experiences that you would never get from another teacher.
There's many examples of when a teacher did a very small thing that, without preaching, really changed the way I thought about things.
One of my teachers was an Italian monk, and he taught us Buddhism, mathematics, and also soccer. And he would be very strict in the classroom, but in the soccer field, for example, he would take off his robes and he would play with us and be just like a kid. And those two sides of someone shows that we can also, as students, we can have fun, but when it comes time to be serious, that's when we have to do.
They're really wise, you know. They have this other level of understanding that they bring to class.
There's many situations where I was angry and upset or really lost and confused, and the teachers always found a way to bring me back to a level where I could understand the situation, maybe in another point of view or just more deeply.
They're here because they want to be here. They teach because they want to teach. And I think the founder was right when he says we need volunteer teachers. And I think if we ever come to a point to where you have more paid teachers than you do volunteer teachers, that maybe it's not the school that he wanted.
I served as his attendant and assistant for probably 16, 17 years. And I had the wonderful opportunity to not only see the way he taught people in the United States, but also to travel with him to many different countries. Pretty remarkable the way he taught people in each society in accord with kind of their unique circumstances of that culture. And you really got to see how incredibly dynamic his teaching was. And yet, the core principles that he taught kind of transcended religion and really focused on people becoming good people in whatever society they exist in.
In our handbook, when we say, even though we're a Buddhist school, but we don't proselyte, that's exactly what we did. I am not Buddhist. I'm Christian. No one has ever asked me to become a Buddhist, nor have I asked them to become Christian, nor have we had any differences of opinion as to what virtue is.
Respect for parents, citizenship, wanting to do service to your country, is so universal, whether it's in a country in the East or in the West.
What I took away from the school more was not the Buddhist ideas, but more just the moral principles that were instilled, in our daily lives.
They were not pushing for myself to become a monk. They were pushing for me to be well educated. If I asked a question about Christianity, they would answer it just as well as they would answer a question about Buddhism.
And of course, in our schools, we're not thinking that the students are going to become monks and nuns. We want them. Our goal is that they become really good people in society.
They really instill in you that you're important and your contribution to the world is important, and that you cannot just go out into the world and strive for personal success. That's important, but you have to. It's like I just feel a complete compulsion to figure out a way where I can use any of the talents that I have to help the world become a better place. And it may sound really abstract and grand, but I actually think most students who go to the schools also have that feeling.
I remember one of our ex-principals of girls' school, Dharma Master Shi, she always tell us, which made a big impression on me. She always tell us that, Shifu's expectation for kids coming out of this school is that you will become good citizens. Not only that, you will help change and save the world.
You can't just keep thinking what are you going to do the next second. You have to go long term. You have to think about your future.
I definitely learned a lot of how to respect people.
When I came to this school, I turned smarter.
You can't be afraid.
For me, it's made me I can stand on my own 2 feet in the world.
You have to take risks.
I can think for myself.
You have to be confident.
Being filial to your parents.
Be patient.
Be a good role model.
I'm taking my precept with me.
Well, I don't want to sound corny, but the virtue we're developing.
And I chose to do better this year.
A lot of our students get individual attention. Some of them don't like that. Maybe some of them we look at a little too closely, but they do become educated in unique ways, character.
For me, I think the success of the school will always be measured in the quality, the moral quality, if you will, of the students who come out of the school. We have had and have right now some really exceptional, gifted students academically. But if they didn't have, good qualities, become good people, I would feel we have failed.
To be a graduate from the school is almost a burden, actually. It's not just, yes, I'm an alumni of a very interesting school. It's okay, you've graduated now, we've spent a lot of time developing you. What are you going to do? It is definitely a way of life. It's not just a school where they expect you to attend from 8 o'clock till 3 o'clock. Our school was attend from 7:50 till 4